It's 9 a.m. already. Good morning, everyone. I know we have quite a handful of people in the fiscal office. Good morning and welcome to today's Tuesday learning session. Hope it's been a great week. It's still the creativity month, and I mean we've really just been talking around the thinking creativity, and we response to brief and I mean we've been discussing along that line. And I mean last week we had members of the management team and for giving constructive feedback as to how we could better respond to brief, and we did all of that last week, and we're going to continue this week. We have group 5 and group 6 presenting to us. Then after that we would move into a session where Precious would be facilitating. So to maximize the time this morning, I would just hand over to Motola to take group 5 and group 6 presentation before moving on to Precious to facilitate today's session. Hi, Motola. Okay, I think Motola is not on the call, right? I think I'm correct. Yeah, she's not on the call. Okay, so group 5, who is presenting for you, please? Who is the representative of group 5?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can. Okay, good morning, Owa. Okay, over to you, please. 5 minutes, quickly 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. I will be sharing my screen. Okay. I also need to apologize for the stuff going on in the background, but why am I can't share my screen.
You can't share your screen. Okay, can you share it with me?
Yeah. Hold on.
Share it now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Please, can everyone see?
Yes, we can, but can you put it on slideshow, please?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Over to you.
Right. Good morning, everyone. So this is group 5. We are working on the brand Maggie. So the brief was basically to choose a word we think is dominated by the brand. We could either leave, change, or invent a new word that we think will better represent the brand. So when we just did like a brief discussion among us in the team, we tried to come up with what we thought Maggie dominates. Basically, we asked ourselves to picture what kind of picture comes to our mind when we think of Maggie. And the first thing that for me, it wasn't just me, my brothers were here as well. The first kind of picture that came to mind was usually like an old woman with a scarf, wrapper, either pounding yam or turning like jollof rice and stuff. So to just try and summarize everything in one word, we landed on housewife. Maggie has dominated that particular word in the market, basically homemaker. If you go to Maggie page, like sometimes like a lot of what you see is, women in the front of the page. This is how it used to be before anyway. This is how it used to be before. There were a lot of women there that were practically dominating the space. Now they are trying to incorporate and be more inclusive. But I remember watching a series where they said the first lie is usually the lie that wins. Maggie came up with this particular branding going, every woman is a star. And even though they've tried to help out with the hashtag cook difference, sometimes if you look through their comment pages, people still respond with every woman is a star. And while the target audience is within this range, that's the young singles within 18 and 34 years, what they are representing on their page kind of still skews towards the people middle-aged sort of that are being represented. So even though Maggie is going for cook difference, we want to sort of like, if no Maggie is being more, inclusive, we want to really try and see if we can make our market, our audience, and other people try to like change how they feel about the brand or the first thing that comes to their mind. We also like look at other brands. Our main competitor is No, and No has done really well in incorporating men in their page. So when I talk about Maggie, the first thing that I thought that we could do was tap into an emotion. And the emotion I thought that we could tap into for Maggie is memory, nostalgia. Because even though homemakers have sort of like been dominated by women, everyone has a home. Everyone has that part in their lives that they remember when they were little, when they were older. And this is sort of like basically briefly explains what we want to do, right? You have like a sense of taste, a sense of smell. Sometimes it definitely triggers an old memory, right? Food does that. Smell, taste. There's this loving memory that you have whenever you eat a meal. When you were at your grandmother's house, when you were at your mother's place, that particular, it's not just the meal that you're eating or how it tastes. It might not even taste so great. It's just a particular event that comes with it, comes with that meal. But now we're trying to move Maggie from just being a homemaker to the home. So the idea we're going with here is Maggie smells like home. So yeah, a brief story as to how we want to accomplish that is, so we start now. We're going to have to ask everyone to sort of like use their imagination with this. A man comes to an old house, right, with a bunch of groceries. The house looks old, like it hasn't been used in a long time. So we take note of how empty it is. It's dusty and old. The fridge and the cupboard is empty of all sort of like foodstuff and vegetables. But he takes the bag of stuff that he has towards the kitchen and he prepares his food. There's some ambience. We hear like dogs barking, cars moving, animals and birds chirping, right? And even with his cutting and slicing, sort of like kind of gives a life and a vibe towards the scene that this is trying to create. The moment he dips the Maggie cube into his pot of soup, just like what we saw in the previous slide, he's immediately transported back to when the house was lively. His mom, his dad, think of all these occasions where, because usually it's a culture for us when we have a big occasion, Christmas, Ramadan, for people to just rush and everyone takes part in the cooking, in the food preparation, right? So we see his younger siblings, we see his grandparents, his mothers, everyone taking part in that, in trying to make the meal. Even his dad at some point says something like, make sure you dress that chicken properly. Oh. I still remember the feathers that I coughed up from last year. That sort of like memory is what he has while he's preparing the food. At the moment, I'm calling this man Tunde. The moment young Tunde sits down to eat his food, we see him back like the older version of himself, eating pounded jam and egusi soup. The house is still empty, but he has a smile on his face, right? He has that smile on his face because this just took him back, to that memory that he had. So it's basically home is where the heart is. Let Maggie bring home to you. So Maggie smells like home. With this direction, we're not limiting the people that we are representing on our page to just homemakers. Everyone can cook. Like if we, I'm taking a quote from Ratatouille now. Anyone can cook, right? So single ladies, single men, anybody, just as long everyone has a home.
Hello, time up, please. Can you wrap up in 30 seconds?
Right. So anyway, that's we can create more scenarios from this. Little girls making food from scratch based on memories that he have. Man makes a meal for his older wife in his anniversary, remembering the meal that he had the first time with his married couple. And cooking shows, we could use scenarios where maybe a lady wants to cook a meal that was created way back. So people just come and talk about, I have this memory from this was the food and I want to recreate it. Anyone can do that. And that's what we have. Thank you. Thank you very much. How do I end?
Thank you, Hua. Thanks. Apologies, I had some internet issues. That's why I came in a bit late. But thank you. So I don't know, starting with the mentor of Group 5, who is GB. Yeah, GB. So can we hear your thoughts on the presentation?
Oh, all right. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Motola. Thank you, Uwa. Wow, mentor for a Nestle brand. That is like unbelievable. You guys.
It was deliberately done.
I'm choking already. I think it's a bit unfair. I think the guys have had a lot more time, but I also think like the feedback I gave you, Motola, it's unfair for storytellers to to present, because they just do a great job nonetheless. So I was captivated by the story. I think the only thing I'd say is in picking the memorable word, I don't know whether you deviated from it, because I thought it was housewife. So I was just lost as to where we are now. Then on the execution, I prefer if you gamble a bit and do a bit of Vegas and, place all your chips on black rather than suggesting. I think clients always fight us for suggesting, you could do. Be like the writer of One Piece and just say, this is the story, this is what we're doing, and place all your bets, on black. Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you very much, Motola.
Thank you, GB. I don't know if there are any other comments before we move swiftly on. Really eating into precious time. Okay, so I think we can go to the final group, group 6. Hi, Union Bank team.
Hi, Motola. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Afolabi. Good morning.
Give me a minute. Let me share my screen. Is it? Oops. No, remove. Slideshow. I want to take it to the beginning. All right, thank you very much. So our task for the day is, sorry, don't let me go into that here. So, Raju, please do the honors by opening the floor with this slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Afolabi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Motola, as well. Okay, so the task for the day was to pick a word that our brand owns in the mind of the customer, and based on what we come up with, we can either stamp that ownership or change it, and also take a look at this in comparison with some of the competitors. So firstly, let's just take a look at, of course, our brand here is Union Bank, right? So we'll just take a look at some of the things that our competitors are doing, not doing what they stand for in the minds of the people, or what they have made us think that they stand for over time. So let's go on to the next slide, please. All right, so First Bank, we'll start with the First Bank. And so this is a very common phrase that you might have heard from First Bank. So at First Bank, we recognize the immutable merit of maintaining a brand first mindset and culture as a critical component of our business strategy. So stay one step ahead of your finances with First Money, our mobile and e-banking service designed with you first in mind. So First Bank, they've made us want to believe that it's you first. So it's the customer first, and using that to say that that's one of the reasons why they've been for a very long time, since 1894. So First Bank, taking in mind that you see all over their ads and everything that they do will be the you first, to say that you come first. Then the next bank we'll be looking at is Wema Bank, can be considered an old people's bank as well, but we've seen how they've evolved with time on the creation of alerts, and right now they are placing themselves as a fully digital bank, majorly selling the alerts feature and the alerts product as what pushes Wema Bank to everyone now. So taking a look at Wema Bank, what comes to mind would be maybe the first fully digital bank. That's for Wema. Let's go on to UBA, United Bank of Africa. Again, UBA as well, similar to our major bank, Union Bank. They've been around for quite a while, over 7 decades. And of course, they've distinguished themselves in the financial service industry. But one other thing that is very common with UBA is the Africa's global bank. So UBA is thought of as the bank that you find almost anywhere and everywhere. So if you're thinking of a banking problem, you can almost be certain that UBA is there wherever you are. So they are placing themselves as Africa's global bank. I'm not sure what the trick is, but yeah. So we then move on to our own very bank, Union Bank, that we are looking at.
Okay, thank you very much, Alaira. Yeah, so from here, I'll take it up from here. Yeah, so when we hear Union Bank, what comes to your mind? The perception, which is Old People's Bank. Yeah, so I'll take it further on the right. Please sit down, relax, and watch out. All right. So Union Bank, since they embarked on the transformation in the year 2014, yeah, so they tried to position themselves as a bank for the millennials, for the Gen Zs, and the coming generations to come. So, but that perception still follows them wherever they go, because a lot of people still have, whenever they hear Union Bank, they say, Old People's Bank and not. So, how do we go about it? Yeah, how do we stamp the ownership? We are actually sticking with the Old People's Bank, but the main reason why we are standing with this because we've been around for a while. We can't just change our age because of time, because of the digital age that is happening now. So what is perception? So I'll define this in regards to business and consumer. So the total sum of consumers' thought, experience, and core beliefs. For persons that have not banked with Union Bank before, but what they've been hearing from people or from their parents, like, oh, I've been using this bank, my father paid my school fees through this bank. So that stays in the minds of the younger generation that said, oh, Old People's Bank. So they don't want to like associate themselves with the bank. They've not banked with the bank. They've not done any transaction with the bank, but they just have that perception of, oh, the bank is old. They're in the minds of the consumer here. So why this perception still sticks is, are they really evolving with time? Most banks now are going digital. Everything they do is now being done on your mobile phone without you coming down to the banking now. But is this bank really giving us that vibe of them being evolving with time ever since they started that transformation? Sorry, I have to hurry because of time. So how do they get here? One-on-one experience, like I said earlier, the people that had an experience with their parents that, oh, this is how I send money. For example, while you are in school, your dad uses a Union Bank and you are using a GTB. They try to send you money. Your money takes 2 to 3 days before you get credit. So you'll be like, oh, that my bank now is Union Bank. So that perception is there enough. Then word of mouth again, from what I said earlier, oh, this is why that perception is still there. Like, oh, I try to send money, the service is bad, everything, poor service delivery, that comes up a lot. Then the dress code again, when you go into their banking now, we see people like the old age. I've seen this a lot whenever I go to UBA. Then give me my tally number. This is something I heard that they usually do way back in the days, whereby before it gets to your turn, you need to get a tally number before the counter person can actually attend to you. Then associating age with relevance. Like they say, fine wine gets better with age. So because we've been around for 1.5 years doesn't mean we are not good at what we do. So we need to make sure that yes, as we are aging, we are aging with relevance. Then imagination gone wrong. Exactly like what we are trying to portray ourselves as a bank that, oh, we are a bank for the new generation, but we are not actually doing what we are supposed to do to actually stand in the midst of the bank for the new generation. All right, so the strongest banks, ones that have a customer
sorry, time is actually up.
My time is small now. Give me 2 minutes. Let me just find it up, please. 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Fast. All right. So meaningful, different, and salient. So God, I don't like this. All right. Secret of the Century Club. These are brands that have been around for years and no, but they evolve with time as time goes by. So they don't really have this. They might actually have this perception, but they evolve with time. For example, JP Morgan Chase. What they do, they invested in digital mobile phones, digital everything. So this actually makes them, it takes them away from the offline legacy system into the digital age. Then the next one is an Avon, which they also invested in digital transformation, which took them from where they are to where they are now. Sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. Sorry, the time. I know. Then the last one again is Nike. Nike has also been around for a very long time, but with time, they tend to evolve, like do what the people of nowadays are interested in. They tend to sink into the psychographic of their current audience. So how do we stamp our ownership? Evolve or you die. If you don't evolve, you definitely die. Digital first, digital always. We need to stamp our ownership since we are trying to say, oh, we are old people's bank, but because we are old doesn't mean we can't do what these other banks are doing. Then invest in technology. Our mobile app needs to be the best, needs to, like, I don't need to come to the banking law. During COVID, when we are all staying at home, transactions are still going on. Everything is still going on fine. So because we are old people's bank doesn't mean during COVID, our banking system and everything should not be working. Then pros and cons, sorry, no time. Then the strategy, infrastructure, investment, leadership, brand health, monitoring feedback, and customer satisfaction, social license, and enhanced perception. This will help us to enhance our perception in the minds of people. So to be successful in today's increasing connected and brand conscious world, everyday brands that want to succeed need to update their storytelling for the modern age, requiring a fresh point of view while seamlessly weaving stories of the past into the present in new ways. We'll be owning the perception and turning it on its head to tell our story in a unique way. Inside, banks are closely linked with our everyday lives, activities, and aspirations.
We
have provided the generation of unique products and services. All right. Thank you.
Sorry. So when I saw you said, I was like, okay. But thanks. I think we were able to get the crux of the matter from what you said. I think stamping the owner. So owning the word, being an old people's bank. And I think you had some interesting ways on how to go with that. I especially liked that you even had some examples of some some brands, not competitions, that have done the same, right? So I think Jade is the mentor of group 7. So Jade, do you have any quick feedback? So
Jade has left this group chat. Oh my God. Afalabi, why would you do this to me? Why? Like, why would you make it so hard for me to? I'm sorry. I need to put myself together. Okay. So I kind of feared that this was going to happen because I think that the first thing we should always consider is the time that we have, right? I didn't think there was a need for the long intro and the passing of the baton, considering you've seen every other person's presentation flow, and you've seen, who struggled with the volume and who's been able to hit the nail on the head. So first of all, I didn't think you needed to have gone into all the case studies that you did. Pick 2 case studies and, just keep it moving because of the time. But I did think it was good that you had a lot of references. I would be honest, I did not even get, I don't even know what you're asking us to focus on. That's the truth. And that's because you were rushing in between trying to read everything on the slide and trying to tell us why we should do what we should do. I'm not sure that I quite got, what you wanted us to focus on. So I think that the way you've layered your presentation took away from the main ask. And yeah, just focus on the main ask, right? It was so lost. Like, I can't even build on anything, honestly. Like, I can't focus on the main ask. I know that we're talking about owning the old people's bank, but then after that, I'm not sure how the service offerings and the approach that you asked us to take helps with that. So I'd say that your presentation wasn't coherent enough for me to make anything out of, and it's only because you tried to squeeze in a lot, not because it wasn't there. So that's my feedback. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Like, you made this so hard for me, and I was looking forward to this. I don't know.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. Again, I think it was, like you said, because of the short time we had.
No, it's not the short time, Motola. It is prioritizing what is important for the presentation. Everybody else had short time, even who is protesting in the comment section that I'm having got like 5 minutes extra. So I don't want us to mix up timing with prioritizing what is important. I think my team needs to prioritize what's important for a presentation. That's my feedback.
Thank you, Jadi. Yes, so that we don't take too much, we've taken a lot of time out of Precious presentations. I think we can just move over there. Thank you so much, Group 6. Thank you, Group 5. Yeah, I think you guys did well.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. So when you give people a chance, they want to take chances. Taking 30 minutes of my time, we move. So welcome everybody to our learning session for today. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, yes. The title of my presentation, my TED Talk is Cutting Through the Noise. It's a learning session, so I hope that we all learn from each other, because most of the things I'll be talking about, there are people on this call that in my opinion are even more knowledgeable than me in some of the areas I'll be talking about. So I would like to indulge you guys to contribute and give me your 2 cents in some of the topics that we'll be discussing through this morning. So let's just learn from each other and all that. So digital marketing experts, like people like Afolabi, they've found out that average people see more than 50 ads per day. Some of us will even see more than that, especially when you're online, even on the streets and all that. We are bombarded with so much ads, so much content, and our attention is what these advertisers are competing to get. So as people that work in advertising, it's important for us to actually win, in getting people's attention. So this presentation is basically a collection of about 20 techniques that have been tested and proven that can help you stand out from the crowd and away from the noise. And I'd like us to just go through them briefly. So yeah, let's go. Let's get into it. So the first thing is color psychology. This speaks to more of branding. A lot of branding people here know about this rule. Every piece of advertising we see have some sort of color scheme. These color schemes have been chosen for a reason. I mean, we're working on one alpha, and the amount of time we spend just picking the right color because of the kind of perception we want to have in the minds of our target audience. We did a lot of research, trying to pick the right color for the brand. So different colors basically elicit different emotions, and as the brand grows, these colors can be used to as form of associations. And for example, when people think of yellow in Nigeria, one of the brands that come to mind is MTN. When you think of Coca-Cola, one of the brands that easily comes to mind is when you think of red, one of the brands that easily come to mind is Coca-Cola. And this is because of how they've been able to own these colors and use it over time, to the point that when people even just see a yellow looking ad or red looking ad, they just assume, it's a Coca-Cola ad. So if a brand successfully does this effectively, they can be able to stand out from the crowd, even if the person viewing the ad doesn't really get see the copy or the image or whatever, the person still gets a crux of what the brand is and all that. I think this is one very effective technique that people use. So is Sydney on the call? I want Sydney to give us his 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm on the call. Hi, Precious. Good morning.
I know you are the color expert. So what's your 2 cents on this first technique that people use to stand out in the market?
Yeah, like you said, color psychology. So it's pretty important. You also mentioned the 1 alpha thing. So, but for me, in a way, I think it's still subjective. So, for example, if yellow is supposed to elicit an emotion of joy in me, and MTN have given me poor network, and I'm seeing they're yellow, now will I just start feeling happy or something? So I think it's still subjective. And yeah, it's who's asking me to start my video? Sorry, I'm on my way. I'm moving up to the office. So yeah, so yeah, I think it's subjective. It's a mixture of everything. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. But yellow, as I'm looking at this color, it makes me, it feels bright, it feels happy. So I think the psychology still works. The second, I have to rush. The second technique people use is composition, and this is basically the arrangement of the elements, so that you can capture the viewer's eye. So you arrange it in such a way that the important things get seen. I know GB is a pro in terms of composition because it's always criticized, your composition, the arrangement of this, arrangement of that. So GB, I don't know if you can speak to the importance of this technique when it comes to standing out from everything that we see out there.
Okay. Good morning, Precious. So I think when we use the word composition, I think it has to do with every form. So whether it's sound, audio, I'm a big fan of the emotions that sounds can trigger. So if you want to work out, for example, you got to pick an upbeat song. When Justin was putting together his Wednesday gaming event, he chose something very haunting, and I guess it stuck with everyone. So whether it's sound, whether it's visual, or whether it's every single media, the intention behind where something is placed is what's called composition. So when you walk into the office, for example, and you see a chair by the reception area, the chair is begging you to sit down, right? And immediately that changes your mood. Imagine if you had a water fountain there as well. So when you are designing communication, just think of the intended emotion that you're trying to drive, and then let that lead to what the composition is going to be. So in experiences, in anything you want to do. But yes, you are right. I am a big fan of composition, but not just the eye, every single sense. I love the Ratatouille movie, for example, where you saw the presentation of the meal, different from what his mother did, but it was the same, and it had the same elements in it. So, but the composition was different, and it triggered an emotion. Thank you.
Thanks, GB, for keeping it short. So these are just some examples that I found online. A third technique people use, this technique is actually very, very effective. For those people that are not, designers or photographers or anything, you guys should pay attention to this, because it can even help things like your photography, the way you compose the images and all that. So this technique is basically, arranging three grid invisible lines. Let me just show you guys. So you arrange these lines on your composition. The intercepting points are the important points. For some strange reason, your eyes just, go to these points, and it's been tested and proven. So just have these imaginary lines across your plane and put the important elements on these points, on these 4 points, and you always get a banging shot. I think this can help. These are some examples of how it's being used in an ad for Corona. So these 2 intersecting points, and this third point is where they now place the copy. And for some strange reason, it just works. It just captivates people. It just stands out. It's just balanced psychologically. This technique is similar to what we just discussed. It's basically focal points. Similar to the previous rule. It's basically guiding the viewer's eyes, and you can use this. You can do this with a lot of things, with lighting, with color, just basically guiding with shapes and geometry and all that. Just basically guiding the viewer's eyes to the points where you want them to see. And there are so many examples of that. This is just a scene from a movie where they use lighting to make you focus on the main character. Just give him this backlit lighting. I know Joe has a lot of things to say about this, but I'll call on Joe later because we don't really have time. So visual part, I actually never knew this until I started working. There are actually 2 visual parts that people typically follow that actually works. One, they call it the Z part. Let me go back. And the F part. So the Z part, your eyes, is basically how your eyes work. Your eye starts from the top left, moves down to the right, then it comes down and forms a Z, then it goes back. So a lot of designers that actually know their onion actually use this to, guide people, when they are placing their elements and their text and all that in their layouts. And this is just an example. You start with the copy, you move to the image, then to this button, then to the phone. It just works. It's just clean, it's effective, it works. Another style is the F path. This is basically how you read books, where you start from the left to the right and you go back to the beginning and join. Naturally, humans our brains just work that way, and a lot of people use this, to arrange their text, their imagery, and all that. Typography. This cannot be overemphasized. When the typography, it's basically fonts. When the fonts are too much and can be a bit overwhelming, to the extent that platforms like Facebook and all that, they even created special algorithms that that don't accept ads, that are too wordy and all that. Maybe Afolabi can talk us through this. Afolabi, can you come to the mic? Is there a reason why Facebook doesn't take certain content because of the number of text in it? Do you know the reason, or it's just a box you just tell designers that, oh, it can't be accepted, it doesn't work, Facebook won't accept it? Or do you know the underlying reason for this? It's like Afolabi is too far from the mic. Okay, let me just move on. So this is just a typical ad. Not too much copy, straight to the point. Using the previous rule where the text starts from the left, move to the right, back to the Coke bottle. It just works. It's clean, it's effective, bang on. Another technique people use is repetition. If you want to nail a product in somebody's head, one way to do this is repetition. If you still, at least the last time I went out, they were doing a campaign and it was just everywhere. It was on billboard, it was on BRT, it was on lampposts. I just kept seeing it everywhere. And, it works, repetition. Just if it's TV, the same content, you put it on different platforms, by the time people start seeing it so many places, it just sticks. This is a good way to stand out if it's a new brand. But, when the brand is already old, you have to be very careful. You need to come up with creative ways for people to actually remember your brand, apart from just repeating it everywhere. But if it's a new brand, repeating, your content in different platforms is a good way to, get brand recall. This is the number ad. Couldn't find that particular one when you were saying, I've forgotten the copy for that ad. I don't know if anyone have encountered this ad. You can speak to it. Is there anyone that have seen this ad? Or is it just me? It was everywhere. I just woke up one day and it was everywhere in my face. And I had to take notes. Okay. Next technique people use is body language. Even as human beings, we respond to body language. And some brands, when they are using models and all that, words are not the only ways to communicate. You can actually use body language, like how somebody got beat up, the whole Burna Boy saga, because of body language. Maybe the babe was giving him green light and something. Ads can actually do that, with body language. You can actually communicate with that. So if you have a model, you can actually use body language to communicate. This is an ad by McDonald's, and they wanted to showcase their 24-hour service, and they just use images of people yawning. It just shows that even when you are tired at the middle of the night, you can always get a McDonald's. Just using body language to communicate without any copy. It's just their logo and 24 hours. And it just works. So this is another technique. I've not really seen a lot of this in Nigeria. I've not really seen a lot. I think I've seen one mocha ad where the guy was sleeping and making mistakes and all that. That was really cool. Direct gaze is another strong one. This is basically where people make direct eye contact with their audience. People react to eye contact. We see this a lot in romantic movies and all that. And they use this technique in advertising. When you have like a really, really beautiful, handsome, macho model staring into your eyes, it has this connection, and this is one of the techniques that people actually use. to stand out. These are some examples. We usually see this a lot with luxury brands, perfume brands, watches, and this Old Spice. This is a fragrance brand, and we see this a lot. Can be really, it feels like the person is talking to you, and all that. It can be very, very effective. Does anyone have any addition or any examples that they've seen of something like this? Yeah, moving on. In case the direct gaze is too intimidating for some people that don't really like people staring at them, there's also the three-quarter gaze, which is, they call it on looking in the streets, where the person look the other way, and this is also very effective. These are some examples. Still, luxury brands, they do this a lot, where the main character is looking away, and it just has the way of drawing you into the art, and it's been proven to be very effective, and it kind of stands out from the crowd. Point of view, this usually works more with videos, where you get to view it from another person's point of view. Some brands that do this very well is Red Bull and GoPro. Let me just show you guys some examples so you guys get what I'm talking about. The composition kind of sucks you into the communication, because it's as if it's dragging you in, because you're seeing it from the person's point of view. I don't know if that makes sense. So this is actually a very strong, visual technique that a lot of people use to just drag people into, compositions and all that. Yeah. Unfortunately, Deji is no longer with us. I know he would have had a lot to say because he's a photographer and he does a lot of photography and all that. But is Joey on the call? Is Joey on the call? Let him talk, because I know a lot of video guys use this technique a lot. I don't know if you have any experience with this technique, or if you tried it, or if you have a contrary opinion as to whether it works or not. Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, I can, Precious.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I hear you, Precious.
Another technique people use, I actually like this technique a lot, is behind the scenes. It gives brands and companies this authenticity. When you're just vulnerable, you just show people the inner workings of your business. It can be an Instagram takeover of one of your staffs, and it just goes around showing people the inner workings of the business, interviewing staffs and all that. It just gives this authenticity, and a lot of brands have been using this. Me personally, I like cars, and a lot of car brands do this. They just open up their factories and stuff and show you the process about how, they're helping the environment, they're planting trees, they're using leather that is not gotten from animals, they're not killing animals, they're recycling stuff, they're doing this. And it just gives you this authenticity and this connection to the brand. Another technique people use is association, where they associate their brand with certain things. For example, Rolls-Royce likes associating itself with wealth. Some brands like Bang & Olufsen, they like associating themselves, where you just associate yourself with something. This is actually a good technique to stand out. Everyone knows Rolls-Royce. Just like, there are a lot of brands. I don't know, Motala, if you have any brand that does association very well, either with luxury or, any other targets. Does anyone have any example of brands that use association very well? But Apple doesn't. It's Nigerian Apple users that create this classic thing about Apple. Apple is just maybe I'm being biased. I just feel like the poverty mentality in Nigeria just makes people feel like Apple is an achievement. Using an iPhone is an achievement. I just feel like I don't think Apple communicates luxury with their ads, because they do a lot of. It's one of their recent ads was a delivery guy that was just delivering stuff. That's not classy in any way. It's just poverty.
I think it's more creativity that day.
Yeah, and innovation. Yeah. Apple innovation. That's what they associate with, not luxury. Yeah. This Bang.
I have something to say. Sorry.
Yeah.
About the Apple thing. It doesn't have to be. They don't have to communicate. Jesus. They don't have to communicate the luxury. How much is the phone? is what we will be asking. How much is the phone?
It's a flagship. Most of their phones are flagship phones. It's not that expensive than other phones. It's like $200 difference. You guys in this country are just too broke, man. You guys
why? Other phones have different values to show inclusivity, but iPhone decided not to. And that is why they've created that class and that separation. If not, they would have created one for everybody's budgets. Nike is one of those good brands, but they also have like different.
Yes, I think they started doing that. So who are they? Have this SE variants that they have.
Mini,
I think the SE is targeted at like
there's the
mini, then there's SE. SE is now the Google Hero.
Well, everybody wants to use a Pro and the flagship phones. So moving on. Or does anyone have a contrary opinion? Me, I just feel like this class and Apple thing is a Nigerian thing. I'm looking at my internet because my light is not on. Emotional appeal. This one I really like. When the client actually understands their target audience, this can be a very, 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 very effective tool. And one of the brands that did this very effectively is Hero. Union Bank, our brand, did this effectively. And we know how Nigerians feel, about the government, about the economy and all that. And we spoke to that and it actually connected and it worked. That is using emotional appeal, understanding your target. Another brand that is doing this very well is Hero. Playing up the whole Igbo sentiments, the whole Biafra vibe, and what's it called? Obiora, please take it from here. I know you know Hero. I'm sure you'll be looking for Hero all around in Lagos, but it's not that big in Lagos. What do you feel about the way Hero is intentional about their communication, about speaking to a specific target audience, which is the Igbo target audience? Obiora, do you have any thought on this? Hello. Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can.
The Obiora is coming.
Oh, okay. Because there was one time I traveled to the East, they had this huge billboard and it had this thing, Echefula. In Igbo, it means never forget, like never forget where you're coming from. And when you're coming from Delta State and you're passing the head bridge, it's just never forget home, always come back. Or they are just intentional, it always works. Igbos actually take that brand personal. I think they can go to war for it. That's an example of emotional appeal. Let's move on. So these are some examples of some brands that have done this effectively well. So Obiora, okay, you're here. Do you want to speak to Hero?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yeah, so this brand, it is very personal, not just for me, I think it's for my race. That is because we draw a lot of, so it's in different forms. You can put it in a way where government has been for years trying to clean up or kind of wipe up the history, how we started off as Nigerians and the Civil War and all of that, so it is at some point that, because over the years we've seen the agitation of Biafra and those things keep coming up, so for years that's happened, and this brand were bold enough to immerse themselves into the situation, and they didn't just do it, they did it, sell it, and it was welcome, and that is what it is. And if you, like you rightly said, look at their communication, look at what they represent, their brand identity, you see that it speaks to who we are, and we love it. The drink may not taste great, honestly. I don't think it tastes great, but what the brand represents and how they've been able to position themselves, we appreciate it, and it is very, very, it is our own, we own it. Yeah.
You can see the emotion in Obiora's voice. David, please, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Precious. So, aside from the personal connection that the brand has been able to achieve the with the Easterners, right? I think it's also a very clever marketing strategy, and it takes my mind back to the book that we are currently reading, right? I really don't know if to say they sort of like created a category for themselves, not really in terms of product, but they've just been able to understand the market that they best fit into, and that's of course the East. I know for a fact that Euro does not have, the biggest market share when it comes to the um, beer category, especially the lager category, right? I think Anakin still has that. But in the East, they are the biggest. And I know for a fact that major beer brands that in Nigeria always try, to sort of like gain, the kind of top of mind awareness that Euro has in the East. And it's just a constant struggle because I mean, Euro would always do it, with the rising sun on the logo. It's just basically the position as, the beer of the people for the people, in the East. And it's just so clever. It works for them, building the personal connection and even in terms of market and driving sales.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't even think if I was one of the strategies I would even advise them. It's so bold to take this kind of stance because
it's so intentional.
It can go south. And there was one of the ads I was watching. It said that everything you see, we created it from 30 pounds. And every Igbo knows that after the Civil War, they gave back like 30 pounds to everybody that had money in the bank. So they were like, everything, all the excellence you're seeing that we're achieving, we got it with just 30 pounds. And how can a brand say something like that in a diverse country like Nigeria? Well, moving on, bandwagon pressuring. This is walking on slippery slopes. It's basically trying to convince your consumer that everybody is doing it, so you should. A brand that did this in Nigeria was Nuno. Where they had, if you are seeing Bitcoin on Ozumbamba the way, it's time to buy. If you are seeing Bitcoin on Third Mainland Bridge, it's time to buy and all that. They were just trying to tell you that everybody, guys, don't sleep on this stuff. And yeah, they're one of the brands that did this, and I think it worked for them while it did. I think I can't see my time. Storytelling. This is a combination of different texts that we've talked about. When you get it right, you get it right. The brand that does this very effectively in Nigeria is Airtel, and a lot of people love Airtel for that, just because they can relate to it. And it doesn't even have to have dialogue. You can just use sound, you can use image, you can use music, you can just use strong imagery. And Airtel does this effectively, and a lot of people love them for it. Their storytelling ability as a brand. Does anyone want to speak to this? 9:53. Let me just move on. Social proof. This is basically like a testimonial kind of vibe. Some brands do this. A brand that is known for this is Pepsodent. Even though a lot of people criticize them that, the doctors are models that they use and all that. I have a feeling it works for them. If it doesn't work for them, they won't keep doing it. Does anyone have any comment about this? Who are your hands are up?
I don't know about Pepsodent, but I do know about one brand that fooled us for years, and that is Dettol. Dettol fooled us for many years that we needed to use them in water to bathe.
Don't you?
And then, later,
Don't you need them? Don't you need to pour it in water to bathe?
No, we don't.
I dare you to have a newborn baby and don't buy Dettol in your house. I dare you. You can't do it.
I'm not even thinking that far. I'm not even thinking that far to use Dettol. First thing is to boil the water. By the time I went back to even really research, you don't need Dettol to bathe. All of that, you don't need it. So, see, Jack is even saying this. I didn't use it for my babies. But there was a time that they nearly drowned us in that nonsense. Everybody had their child in their house. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I believe them, Sha. Still do. Kills the germs, man. So social proof. So some brands have done that effectively. People like us, I don't know how I won't believe them again. But I hear you, who are. Well, better safe than sorry. So yeah, Pepsodent, they usually do this all the time. Bukola, do you have any comment on brands that use this technique to communicate?
So good morning, everyone. Not really. I'm not a fan. I think things that, the things that they feel you need, or you need authority figures to reinforce that. So they do it, it's effective. But I'm not a big fan of this type of advertising. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Animation and motion graphics, this technique is usually used for explainers and stuff. We've seen a lot of requests coming up, especially in advertising these days. When the animation is good, it actually grabs attention and can be quite entertaining. One ad that did really well was Don't Waste to Die. I know the ad heads here will definitely know this ad. It was animated, it was fun, just a very serious matter, just bringing a light approach to it, and it was very, very, very effective. I don't know if anyone wants to speak to this, how effective it is, because this is a conversation that everyone that knows about this ad knows how serious the topic was.
Hi, so I want to ask, this Dumb Ways to Die, was it successful because it was animation, or was it essentially the strength of the idea?
You know, what is it called? You can use a combination of different techniques. It's not just one technique. So I think the animation actually helped a bit, plus the idea, plus everything that came together. You must not just use one technique. You can use a combination of different techniques. Obviously, the idea was solid. But it would have been different if they were actually showing people getting hit by a train, like gory images of road, and they're saying Dumb Ways to Die. I think a lot of people will find it offensive because maybe they've known people that have actually died from accidents and stuff. And when you're telling them that, oh, you died a dumb way, so people might find that offensive. But I think using animation for that just made the conversation, made it not that tense and not that serious. Artificial reality, this is another technique a lot of brands are using now with AR, with VR, with filters and all that. A lot of brands are taking advantage of this technology and coming up with new experiences. A good example is IKEA, where they have this VR where you can actually see how some of their products actually fit into your home and all that. We're gradually coming to the end. Fantasy, I've not seen any fantasy ad in Nigeria, but this technique, basically, you take something that we've seen somewhere, that in television or book, maybe like something like, off the top of my head, I think everybody have visualized robbing a bank when you're entering the bank. Just imagine using an innocent vehicle as a getaway car. I think that will make a good ad. But outcome will not let us be great. So fantasies and all that. And I also have this idea for a fantasy ad for Toyota, where we actually use Toyota brands for terrorists. And like, even terrorists don't want to get stranded. I think it's brilliant. Because all the terrorists, they use Toyota vehicles. Why don't they use other brands? Just to show you how durable they are because of the importance of their war. Nobody wants to get stranded. So fantasy, I've not really seen anything done in that space in Nigeria. And lastly, and this is an example, just playing that fantasy, fire breathing dragon, clearing the path for your car. Awesome. And lastly, on my list, and there are a bunch of techniques, social media influencers. Everyone on this call knows the impact that these guys have, to the point that they are eating into the revenue of a lot of agencies and all that. We know how this works. It works. It's a technique that works where you leverage on people that have a huge following, and they help you promote your products and all that. So these are just some of the top techniques that I find interesting that you can actually use to stand out from the client, from the crowd. You can use a combination of different techniques, to stand out. Yeah, that's me done. Any thoughts, comments before we move on to the assignment? Michael, I'm just saying you now. Any thoughts, comments?
No, not really. Well done, Precious. Thanks.
Yeah. So for Mr. What's his name again? King of all influencers. So for the assignment, I want us next week, let's discuss. I think we should just use the same groups that we use for Murtala's assignments. I want us to pick 3 ads that have stood out to members of your team, and let's just discuss some of the techniques that they use that grabbed our attention, that made us like these ads. Just straightforward. I want to know. I would like to see if there's a particular trend in the ads that we pick. I don't want to give any spoilers. Maybe comedy, maybe the way Nigerians like music or comedy or all that. I'd like to see the ads that actually come up and know, how we can learn from that as an agency and what people actually like and all that. So each group, 3 ads. Just come and discuss why those ads stood out to you and why you like them and some of the techniques that you think they used and they used effectively. Yeah, so I think that will be our next session next week. Maybe HR is going to send the assignment to you guys, so you maybe with the list of the techniques and stuff, so you guys can juxtapose that with what you're doing. Yeah, thank you. And I'm done.
Thank you very much, Precious. The deck and assignments will be shared via email. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
All right, bye.